Good morning, folks, and welcome to the Hobby Room. Let's see, what are we going to do today? Today we have a Monsterbeetle to cover. This is going to be an interesting one as I have already started it. Morning coffee. I know the Monsterbeetle, some people think it's the most exciting thing in the world, some people think it's unexciting. The reason that I'm doing a Monsterbeetle is because most of you guys know my Blackfoot is my all-time favorite daily, and it seemed as though if I'm collecting vintage RC, vintage Tamiya, that the Monsterbeetle would complement that collection perfectly. So I actually picked all this up not out of expressly loving the kit, but I just felt it belonged, and it's sort of like you gotta have a Monsterbeetle at some point. They are super cool, and so here's mine. Let me start you out ahead of time by telling you that I've basically already done, I'm gonna call it a soft restoration. I've done a cleanup of it. It actually came to me in very good condition. And I'll do a couple close-ups here in a second. It came to me in very good condition and needs very little work. What I didn't get when I made the purchase is a body. So we'll go over the pieces here, we'll go over what I've got, I'll let you know what I've already done, and then we will take it from there. So like I said, the truck, the buggy, the ORV actually came to me in really good condition, so I cleaned it up. I went ahead and put on, I didn't want to walk away from the microphone, I went ahead and put on a rzmotor, which is my favorite in the ORV platform. It makes it go like stink. I put on the carbon battery stays. I just like those because it seems to, against the side of the ORV chassis, when the body sits so high, having these in red just stands out a little too much. So I don't put them on because they're any better. I put them on because it kind of makes the chassis go, not be so noticeable and helps to highlight the body. Additionally, I use the carbon shock mounts, and there's a brace that I make for the back. That's because we all know on the ORV, when they bottom out, the first thing that happens is these mounts flex because they're crap. So I'll show them to you when I get up here and hold the vehicle up to the camera. Also, I did the steering geometry correction knuckles, which you can see. Now it does not do funny things with the front wheels when the suspension jounces. And again, that's a part that I just sort of feel as though it's necessary in an ORV just to make it function. So the only modifications that I do on an ORV are based strictly on functionality, and they're not to make it cooler or anything to that effect. And as usual, I gave it the normal treatment of doing G10 platforms between the chassis rails so that there's a flat place to mount the speed control and the receiver. In terms of electronics, I do the same setup in most of my vehicles. It's an inexpensive setup consisting of a Spectrum receiver and an aarma speed control. My everyday cars get a little bit nicer stuff, but much like Gavin over at RC Kicks, I want every one of my cars to be runnable at any given time, so they are all loaded with servos, receivers, and speed controls and motors. That way, theoretically, I could at any point grab one off the shelf and run it. So here, let me get away from the microphone for a minute and give you a quick close-up on the car. One other piece that I forgot to mention on this is the MIP ball diff. Again, if you're going to run an ORV, you must have a ball diff. So just to recap, MIP ball diff, because you have to have it. Shock, carbon fiber shock mounts, because you have to have it. Steering geometry correction kit, because you have to have it. And an RZ motor, because I frankly just like having a lot of power. So what's next for this? Let's set this aside. And let's have another sip of coffee, because I don't know if you can tell by the light, it's still very early morning here in Delray Beach, Florida. So what else? tires are cracked and we want to make this nice. So we have brand new in package Tamiya Monsterbeetle tires, brand new in package Monsterbeetle wheels. So that sorts that right out. One day this will be a shelf queen, so I'm going to run it on what it's got, as they aren't actually that bad. And I'm going to run it. I'm going to do this body set in Riri. I have original Riri decals, and we're going to do this body set in that, and use the used wheels and tires. Go out. We're going to beat the heck out of it, have all of our fun, and then when all is said and done, I'm going to do another body set that will be mint, and then I will install the new wheels and tires, and then I can live happily on a shelf with me having had my play already. And if I feel like taking it down and playing with it again, it's as simple as swapping out 4 tires and a body, go out, beat the heck out of it, and then put the pretty stuff back on. So you guys already know I got the rolling stock. You already know that I've got the decals, the body set. This video, you might see a lighting change because we're waiting on a part. A lot of this stuff came from Germany, and it's sourced by my friend Dean DiGiorgio. So we've got the actual body itself. We've got the windows. This is your front end, your cockpit decal, your driver set, and some lights and chrome parts. What we are missing is the front bumper that goes on here and carries the 3 lights. Those are on their way. It is currently Wednesday the 21st. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to receive those on Tuesday the 27th. So those are coming. So you're going to see a little bit of YouTube magic where I snap my fingers and disappear. I'm going to throw up, it'll probably be a couple of stills of me doing the paint work. I would, on the final body, I'm going to do the detail where folks put the front end on and then use a little bit of body filler and fill that seam. I think that looks really nice, and I will do that for the pretty body, but that's not going to be done for the runner because, again, it's going to get rolled over. You know, you guys, any of you guys who have run this chassis know, especially with the rzmotor on 2S LiPo, this thing is going to spend as much time on its lid as it does on its wheels. So I'm going to go away now, and I'm going to start painting up the body and getting it all assembled. And you might not get the final version of this video till after the 27th when that bar comes in. But I'll definitely chime in on this video so that you see the lineage of how everything goes. So let's get to it. All right, and we're back. So it's a couple days after the first footage that I shot. Cleverly, I managed to source the same t-shirt for a sense of continuity, but now we have a painted Monsterbeetle body installed on the chassis. Well, what do I think of that process? I gotta tell you folks, I'm a little surprised. There was actually quite a bit more to this than I had expected. Now, I did go ahead and apply all the decals. I actually use Windex to apply my decals rather than making up a solution of washing up liquid, soap, and water. I just spray Windex and use it that way. I've heard tales of the ammonia damaging the decals, but in years of auto racing and RC, I've just never found that to be the case. So Windex is what works for me. With that having been said, I use all Tamiya paints because I just find that they work. They lay down fantastically. They're amazingly opaque, which allows them to be super duper thin, so detail isn't lost with Tamiya paint, which of course makes sense being first and foremost a plastic models company, it would make sense that they would develop a paint that would be ideal for the job. So that went on very well. There's a huge amount of detail on this body. The hinges, the hood line, louvers back here. It's actually a very impressive body. And the stickers weren't that tough. It just so happens that there's a lot of them. Now, in the process of doing this, I happened to catch Glenn over at Tamiya Legends. I caught his video on his doing of the Monsterbeetle and noted that he took it one step further. And I'm going to go down that road. He did the window frames, which I have yet to do. And I believe he did the hinges, which I have yet to do. What I did do was the mirrors and the windshield wipers, the license plate surrounds, and in fact the windshield wipers and the license plate surrounds I actually did with a silver Sharpie, not paint. And I just feel as though, well, first of all, it was a whole bunch easier. It dries instantly, and it was a good way to get through it. So we still have the window frames to do, as that looked really good when Glenn did it. I'm also going to do mine in silver. And the tail lights still need doing. I actually made a mistake, and rather than putting the orange, the amber on top, red in the middle and white on the bottom, I put the red on top, amber in the middle, and white on the bottom. So I've already recoated the top of the lights in red so that I can go back and correct my mistake. Not a big deal. But, oh, the only other thing that I did different and kind of strayed is I was going to do the sunroof in black. So I shot it black, and it had a little bit of a couple little specks, a couple little flecks in it. So I had gotten it into my head after about 4 coats that I would water sand it and then do another wet coat in a perfectly clean environment so that those spots weren't there. Well, I hit it with some 800 and all of a sudden I liked the look of it. So then I hit it with some 1500, and once again, that is what we have as a result. And honestly, I kind of like it that way. You know, a lot of these vehicles had fabric tops, they had fabric sunroofs, and I just feel that the contrast is a good one, and that if I do it in red, it's kind of ho-hum. If I do it in gloss black, yes, that would look like a black tinted glass sunroof, but I just chose the matte look instead because I can. Because it's my toy, and that's what I'm going to do with it. So next bit is we are going to take this out and do a light running. I'm not inclined to bash this thing, guys. You know I have a second set of wheels and tires, brand new in the package. You saw that earlier in the video. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go out and we're going to give this a light run. I'm going to do everything in my power to not roll this thing over, because I know if I do, the mirrors are done for straight away. And actually this body required so much effort that I'm inclined to take this body and the nice wheels, set them aside, have those be my display pieces, and then actually source possibly even a polycarbonate body to pop on with these wheels and tires, which are the older ones that are showing a little bit of wear. But to have a, you know, maybe a polycarbonate body, something that doesn't take so much effort, let that be my beater body, and then when it's time to go back on the shelf, you know, it gets the pretty stuff. So let's go give it a light run out on the nature trail and see what we think of the Monsterbeetle. Come on with me. Right, guys, and we are back from the nature trail. You know what? The Monsterbeetle performed exactly how you would expect a lightly modified ORV to perform. It was bouncy, it was fast due to the rzmotor, but thanks to some of the other mods that were laid out earlier in the video, we were able to keep it off of its roof, which means the body is preserved. So now it's really just time to wrap up this video. Thank you guys for watching and your continuing support. The body is going to go into the sink for a good wash up, and the chassis is going actually outside for some compressed air. If you have any questions on how I clean these guys up after a good hard run, please reference my Blackfoot video, as the back half of that is strictly about cleanup. So once again, guys, thank you for stopping into the hobby room and enjoy yourselves. Remember, guys, if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell so that I can keep getting great content out to you.